The year is 2014, and YouTube launches the last of its great vintage toy restoration channels. In a freak mishap, toy-polloi is thrown out of the forums and into an orbit which freezes his internet access, returning toy-polloi to our screens 500 years later.
Welcome to toy-polloi.
Hello and welcome to another video from toy-polloi, and this is part 4 of the vintage Mego Buck Rogers Starfighter restoration and customization project. Now in the last video I did some sort of final work on the lighting to stop the light bleed that we were getting around the lasers at the front, and I also put the cockpit glass in to make the cockpit look a little bit more finished. Since then I've done a couple of final little modifications. On the lights at the front, a couple of people suggested wrapping tape around the lights to stop the sort of light coming out the side and just sort of point the LEDs towards the front. So I've done that, and that has helped a little bit. There's still a tiny amount of light bleed just around sort of some of the joins where the bits of plastic sort of stick together, but it really is quite minor now. And Robert was very sort of keen on me to make the engines look complete. So what I've done is I've actually painted part of the body of this ship so that the engines now look complete. On the original Buck Rogers Starfighter, this engine sort of came all the way into here, but on the toy this plastic section was grey, and then the main part of the body is sort of white. So I've painted it grey. The match is not perfect, but you know what, I actually quite like that sort of two-tone effect. Really, to match it perfectly, what I need to do is actually paint the engines, but I'm just not keen on sort of painting these sort of 3D prints, so I've left it as a little two-tone thing. Now I just think it looks quite nice. I have to say, if I was doing this for myself, I probably wouldn't even bother painting those, because I like the fact that it's sort of quite obviously bits stuck together on these toys, but for Robert I've painted those pieces. So now what we need to do on this ship is get on and make some new stickers for it that are a lot more screen accurate, because the original ones that came with the toy, they're fairly basic and a real sort of interpretation of what the ship looked like. But I know a lot of people want some stickers that look much more like the original ship appeared in the TV show. So let's get on and make some of those. Working out sticker placement on a ship like this is actually quite a long process, and generally will take me a few days to sort of work them out and then make all of the sort of the designs that I want, just because it's such a sort of complicated piece. And you can see here, this is my initial process, just working out where I want stickers to be. So what I've got, this is just some electrical tape, so it's a nice sort of rubbery finish tape, and it doesn't stick particularly well, and it's very good for sort of pushing into corners. So what I do is I go over the entire ship, sort of sticking this tape where I want to sort of have the stickers finally, and I can work out then the sort of awkward shapes, because some of these have got curves and bends. I sort of push the tape in and then use my knife to cut around the edges, and once I've got all the shapes that I'm happy with, you can see I'm still sort of working on it. I've just started to put some inside the cockpit for the sort of cockpit controls. Once I've got them all how I want, I then peel these off very carefully and stick them onto a piece of paper with loads of notes as to sort of where they are sort of supposed to be placed. So you can see here, this curved one is actually going to go over this sort of a little curved part of the engine, and there's a mirror image version to go underneath. And likewise we've got this piece here, which is a sort of another curved piece that goes just down here. So once they're all stuck on the bit of paper, I then scan this in using a flatbed scanner and take it into Photoshop and use these as the sort of basis for the shapes I'm going to make. Otherwise, working out what sort of shapes these would be was going to take a much longer time. So this is a sort of fairly rough method, but it gives you a good starting point for every shape you're going to need. So as you can see, I've got a few more to do, but once I've done all that, I will stick them onto this sheet, scan them in, and then start making the sort of final artwork to go onto this Starfighter. It's now a few days later because it really did take an awful long time to make these. I have ended up with this 2 sheets worth of new decals and stickers to go on the Starfighter, and these are what I'm hoping to be sort of as close to screen accurate as I can get, still with a little edge of being a toy, because obviously this is a toy, but as you can see there are an awful lot of panels, and it's been an awful lot of work to make all of these. I've tried to sort of split them up into sections because there are sort of definite parts of the ship. So I've got here, this is the pontoons, the sort of the pillars on either side. They're all the stickers to go down those. Then we've got the lower wings, which are these ones. We've got the top wings, which are these pieces. We've got the top sort of back panels on here, and then there were so many it wouldn't fit on one sheet, so I have this extra section which these are panels to go around the cockpit. These are ones to go on the cockpit itself. There's a rear panel that goes on the back, and then there's some other sort of fine detail pieces that go inside the cockpit with all the sort of controls and panels on. Yeah, it was an awful lot of work, but I think I've done a pretty good job of recreating the sort of the look of the Starfighter. We've just got to get these onto the ship. Now, my initial thought was to print these onto water slide decals and use that to attach to the ship, because I want to keep this sort of beigey colour of the plastic coming through. I could have just printed these onto white sticky back glossy paper, but in the end I've gone down a different route and actually bought some new stuff, which is this clear film self-adhesive. These are A4 sheets. They come from a company called Photo Paper Direct, which I've used before for another project, and this is basically thin acetate but with a sticky backing to it. So at the moment it looks like it's white, but that's because it's on a sticky backing. When we peel these off, these will be see-through, and I think this should work very nicely. This stuff was not particularly cheap. I got 20 sheets here and it cost almost £25 for that, but I think it's going to be worth the while getting it to do this. As you can see, I've only used 2 sheets to print on this, so I've got an awful lot of this left for other projects. But yeah, it's printed out very well, and this is just using my normal inkjet printer, so there's nothing fancy, and you can see the quality has come out really very nicely. Now, there are a few sort of awkward stickers on here which I'll sort of talk about before I go applying them, and that's mainly because this ship needs to come apart. There is a battery inside it now to run the electronics and the lighting, and at some point that battery will sort of die and you'll need to replace it, but we need to put some stickers across the join. So this vehicle is made out of 2 pieces, so you've got the top and the bottom. There's a join here, so the little sort of emblem that goes on the side, I've actually put some little marks on it where I'm going to have to cut it in half and stick one part on the bottom and one part on the top. Likewise on the back there is a panel that needs to go here, and again I've made it so that can be cut in half. So this is on the second sheet. You can see there's a line across the middle. I'm going to cut right across that middle and stick that on, so that again the ship can still be taken apart if need be in future. But really, the next phase of this is I've just got to cut all of these out and stick them on. It's took me a long time to make them. I think it's going to take quite a long time to stick them on, so let's just get going. And here we are after many hours of work. This is the finished customised Buck Rogers Mego Starfighter. Just putting the stickers on took me about 2 hours because as you see, I've sort of worked out roughly where I was going to put them all, and some of them needed a little bit of modification. I've been back and forwards on a couple and reprinted them and sort of redesigned the stickers because they didn't fit quite how I wanted. But in the end, I think it was well worth all of the effort and extra time sort of put into fine-tuning those. As you can see, the final result is really quite impressive. I've really tried to make it look as close as I possibly can to the model that you see in the show, so I've used lots of reference photos to make sure all of these stickers are as accurate as they can be. The actual sculpt of the ship is pretty good. It's a few sort of areas that aren't quite the same, but overall I managed to get it looking, I would say, sort of 90% there, and it's really sort of quite impressive once you see it. I'll sort of show you some close-up shots. You've got all the stickers everywhere. There are just so many of them stuck on every sort of single surface. So we've got ones on the back, we've got the wings here. Even if we turn it over, I put them on the underside of the wings. The sort of striping, rainbow stripe that goes round continues under the wing as it does on the original model. I've added some extra sort of stickers onto these wings, but actually those are overall quite plain. Then we've got the symbol on the side, which you can see has a cut down the middle so that we can still take the ship apart. Then we've got detailing all around the cockpit, and if I open up the cockpit, you can see there is now control panels all on the inside and even little stickers on these holes. I did actually make a sticker to go on the other side, but I've put a light there, so I didn't put that sticker on, but there's a little blue sort of one to match the other side. And yeah, just overall it looks really rather impressive. I was sort of apprehensive when I first started this project of how close I'd be able to get this to look, but actually you can see it's yeah, better than I'd hoped for, really. Let me bring in the original version of this Starfighter so you can see the two side by side. So on the left is the classic sort of Mego looking Starfighter. This is using the stickers that came with that ship. As you can see, they're quite sort of bright and garish and don't really follow what the ship looked like in the show. They're sort of a bit of a sort of a naive, simplified version of them. I still really like those stickers, but that's what it looked like originally with the grey nose cones. Obviously these have now been replaced with the ones from Stonegate Creations, so they're much longer, and I've added the lights inside. But you can see it makes quite a difference putting on these sort of more screen accurate stickers compared to how the Mego one looks. I like both of them really, but I always think it's quite amazing what you can do to a ship just by making some modern design stickers. You can take something, you know, that's 30, almost 40 years old and turn it into this just by adding some new stickers. It really does make quite a striking difference. I thought it would also be nice to compare it to the custom version of the Corgi Starfighter that I did when I first started this channel many years ago. As you can see, they look really nice together. On the Corgi one, I didn't do a great deal of sort of changes to the actual ship. I cut away the bar at the front, repainted it. I didn't sort of paint the wings. I've left these in the sort of the bright yellow plastic, but I did make new stickers to go all over the top of it to make it look more show accurate. The Corgi ship has a lot more detailing on it, so I was limited on where I could put the stickers, but as you can see, I ended up with something that looked quite nice. And now displaying these two together, it's really nice to see them in different sizes. I think what I need to do now is actually do the very small sort of Corgi version one as well to go with it. So I've then got 3 sizes of Starfighter. I think that would look really very nice on display. I tried to darken my room as much as I can so you can see the lights. I'm going to first switch on the engine lights, and you can see that these really have quite a nice glowing sort of flickering effect to them, and they do look really quite impressive. You can see on camera you're getting a lovely sort of lens flare going on. If we turn the ship around, you can now see Buck in the cockpit, and he's being lit by a black light that's just at the front there. If I open up the cockpit, you can see there's Buck nicely lit up. Then we have the lasers as well. If I switch those on, you can see those are really sort of nicely flashing at the front. Those are on a separate switch. I'll just switch those off again. Overall, I'm really impressed with how well these lights work, considering how sort of simple they were to add. The engine lights really do make quite a massive difference, and the black light inside the cockpit is a nice sort of subtle detail as well. If I just put this ship down, you can see it looks quite nice just on display with the lights flickering everywhere. I think it's quite a nice effect. So that is it for this Mego Buck Rogers Starfighter customization and restoration project. It's been a lot of work, but I think it really has been worthwhile. The file that I've made for these stickers is going to be for sale on toy-polloi.com, so if you want to have a go at doing that yourself, you'll be able to purchase that file and download it and then print these onto whatever media you want. If you want the sort of special parts that I've used, the 3D printed parts, then go to stonegatecreations.com. I'll put a link to those in the video. Fred makes all sorts of replacement parts for vehicles, so do check that out. And I do need to say a massive thank you to Robert Hosier, who very kindly sent these in as a project. I will be returning this custom one to him, so that's going to get packed up and sent all the way back to America. I do hope it manages to survive the journey. And I also do need to say thank you to Robert, who very kindly has said that I'm allowed to keep this one to add to my collection, so that's very kind of him to do that. It's certainly going to be a nice piece that I'm going to be adding. It's not something I've ever had before, so I think that completes my Buck Rogers vehicle collection. So thanks again, Robert. Now I hope this video has been of interest to you. If it has, then make sure to hit the subscribe button, tap the bell to be notified each time I upload a new video, and thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching toy-polloi. Subscribe for more great videos. You can also follow toy-polloi on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.